They said I joke too much, that I don't fit the mold. But last time I checked, I'm the one still bold.
Welcome to the Heart and Hustle podcast. I am your host, Homer Hargrove, and today we're going to be talking about the authentic hustle and looking how to do what you were made for. And today's topic has been on my mind a lot lately, this idea of the authentic hustle. And I want to talk to you what it means to build something that's truly yours, something that flows from who you are, not just what is trending. Because I feel like I've met a lot of people who are trying to start businesses or side hustles that don't even really connect to what they actually enjoy. And you can tell that it feels forced, it drains them, they even feel really unsure of themselves, and before long, they lose that steam. And it will make one person feel insecure, like an imposter, and like they shouldn't have tried in the first place. And the reality is there's nothing wrong with trying out a hustle, but it's trying to rediscover what you specifically should be doing, what you were built for. And so this is for anybody who's ever felt tired of forcing something that didn't fit who they were, and you're ready to rediscover what your hustle actually should be. So let's start by talking about the trend trap. And it's easy to fall into what this idea of seeing other people finding success in something and feeling this urge and sometimes even like a need to jump on that trend too. And maybe you see somebody online making money selling planners or flipping furniture or even just running a fitness page, and you think, well, maybe I should do that. And maybe you could, yeah, but the question is, should you? And a good idea doesn't just automatically mean that it's your idea. There's nothing wrong with being inspired, but if you're trying to build something that's completely outside of your nature, then it will feel like wearing shoes that don't fit. You might be able to do it for so long, but you're going to get blisters. And you might look the part for a while. You could play the game, but it will start to hurt the longer that you walk in this. And the biggest misconception about this idea of hustle is that it has to look like everyone else's. But your lane might not be so flashy. It might not be what you see trending in your feed. It might be quiet. It might be creative. It might be a little behind the scenes, but that's okay, because fulfillment doesn't come from doing what's popular. It comes from doing what's purposeful. I remember a while ago, I heard this podcast episode where I was talking about people finding their unique niche. And there was this episode about this lady that would make like animal figurines out of like these weird like household items, or like out of wiring, and these just like miniature metal animals. And it's such like a random thing. And she ended up creating like a successful business from it. And it's not something that you would ever necessarily automatically see in your algorithm. You know, it's like so super niche. Like imagine telling your family, like, you know what, I'm going to quit my job to sell these metal figurines of animals I think are really cute. Everyone would tell you it's a bad idea, it's never going to work, it's too niche. But she did that, and she found this unique market of people that really enjoyed these little statues, and she really enjoyed making them. So it doesn't feel like this grueling work, like, oh, I gotta make another one of these, I hate making these. It was something that she really enjoyed, that she was able to monetize. So let's talk about finding your natural zone. How do you even find that? How do you know what is your authentic hustle? And I think that you should start with this question: what do you already enjoy doing even when no one is paying you for it? That is your first clue. For me, it's speaking. I speak all the time, right? I love speaking for church and sermons. I love speaking at recovery centers. I love speaking for this podcast. I now love speaking while playing video games. I just like to talk. And you need to see what it is that you like doing. And when it came to this idea of speaking, of like almost everything that I do, everything that I arguably produce is created from this idea of speaking, from like journal entries to manuscripts to books. it flows all together. And for me, I've been able to find just this idea of wanting to share my voice, and it comes in now multiple forms I'm able to express myself. Even now, like this idea of making shirts, well, it's my idea of saying something through a picture. It wasn't because I had this beautiful business plan. It's just because I actually really like this creative process, this idea of making a message turn into artwork, and the feeling of wearing something that symbolizes what I wanted to say. And when we do that, for me, it's like it grows naturally. There's plenty of things that I tried to force happen, and it just never stuck when I threw it at the wall. But as I did this, it still took time. But even if I made a graphic or a shirt or a book or whatever that didn't sell at all, I still enjoyed this process of making it, because it wasn't this forced identity. It was an extension of my identity. And the same goes for, I could go down the line of like speaking engagements, even like this new like kind of rhythm I've been with making music through AI. It is something that's always been inside of me, this love to share a message. And now I'm finding different ways to be able to tell this story in a new form. And you might be the same way. Maybe you've always loved baking or photography, writing, building things, coaching, organizing, something that might feel small that lights you up. But that's the stuff that's worth paying attention to, of even trying to unpack, why is it that I enjoy this? Why do I like to do X, Y, or Z? Because what you naturally do for fun is often what you're almost like anointed to do for a purpose. It's something that is connected to your soul. So again, unpack it and try to really pull what about it is that you enjoy. Now let's go into part 3, which is turning passion into structure. This is the part where it doesn't feel fun for most people. And it is this idea of having great passion, but if you want your hustle to last, you've also have to learn how to give it a framework. This is the idea of putting a business model to something that you enjoy, or monetizing something that's fun. Let's say you love creating, cool, but you have to also learn how to price your work. Do you know how to promote it without cringing at yourself? Have you taken time to understand the basic system that makes it sustainable? Structure doesn't necessarily, you got to understand that structure doesn't kill creativity, it protects it. And for me, I think that was a big hurdle to overcome early on, was learning the business side of creative work and how it didn't come easy. I had to learn how to track orders, handle costs, communicate value, deal with feedback, both good and bad. But the difference is when it's something that you genuinely love, learning those parts feels like growth, not like a punishment. And I want to just put out there this idea of like monetizing something that you would do for free. It's a weird concept, but this is really what finding an authentic hustle is about. Even for me, like early on when I first started making different shirts, and I cringe at the first designs that I made, but I would price them like really low to where I would barely even turn a profit. And at the end of the day, it wasn't sustainable. The same goes for like speaking and even going to recovery centers. Like it's not sustainable for me to actually continue to do these things that I like to do if I don't charge enough for them for me to not have to get another job. It's counterintuitive. And so that word sustainable should be something that you write, like etch on your heart when you are trying to make this business model of charging things. And when you do that, you'll be able to really look at something like, if I were to spend X amount of time on this and only get paid this much, would it be worth it for me? I mean, even break it out to your hours. Sometimes we do like, oh, well, I enjoy doing it, so it's okay if it's a little cheap. It's like, okay, but you priced it out to where you made less than $5 an hour. So like you need to actually make this model for your business that you want to actually work to be sustainable. And so don't get overwhelmed by this business side. Instead of saying, I don't know how, start saying, I can learn how. There's a plethora of ways that you can dive deep, whether it's using ChatGPT or searching YouTube videos. It's understanding that you can have a mindset that turns a dreamer into a doer if you are willing to learn this business side of it. Now, let's go into part 4, which is a story about alignment. For me, a while back, I met somebody who was really, I wouldn't even say like desperate to want to start their own business. And they told me that they told me that of what they wanted to do. And when I asked why, their answer was, well, I saw somebody else do this. They were they were just so desperate to kind of copy somebody else. And their idea was, I'm trying not to give away too much information, but their idea was really just copycatting somebody else, and they did not have the same tools or resources to do it. And what I found over and over is that there's times where we think something will just work because it's working for somebody else. And if you find yourself only copying, like you're literally pulling, like there's some people even that have that I know that like had copied and pasted things from like manuscripts that I wrote or books, like book segments where they literally copied and pasted. And while it's flattering, like that's not going to last you. I can encourage them like, hey, that's great. Play it off as your own, but it's not even offensive to me because it's more so like, well, that's not going to work for long. That you can't align yourself under somebody else's vision. And there's this disconnect to where you're chasing the coattails of somebody else. You're not chasing the meaning behind it. You're trying to copy somebody else's lane instead of just owning your own. And most of these people, when you if you follow them long enough, it's almost like they'll restart their business plan over and over and over. And all of a sudden, 6 months from now, maybe a year from now, they have a whole new thing that they're doing. I notice a lot like for network marketing people is that they'll do one network marketing thing for a while, and when it doesn't feel like it works out, they chase another network marketing, and they rework their whole power base with the same kind of style, but for a different product. Like, no, this time it's different. And at the end of the day, you just need to stop trying to chase this idea of fast success. You can't copy and paste from somebody else's. You have to align yourself to something that you actually enjoy, something that you actually love doing, and something that even captures your emotion. And within time, it will fit you. It will accelerate into opportunity if you align yourself instead of under somebody else's vision. Now that leads us to our last part, which is overcoming the fear of starting small. I think that one of the biggest reasons we don't chase our authentic lane is because it doesn't feel big enough. And maybe you think that your idea is too niche. Maybe it doesn't look impressive on paper. Maybe it's not like insanely instantly profitable. But the truth is, every major brand started small. And what made them great wasn't necessarily how they started, it's how they stayed consistent with what they were doing. And if you're good at something and you care about it, then people will eventually notice. But you have to push past the embarrassment. I think there's this underhanded embarrassments when things don't take off instantly. In those early days, it feels like this awkward trial and error for small sales and low views, and you almost feel the sense of shame for not doing better faster. But you have to remember that your lane may not be crowded, but that's also can be a good thing. It means that there's room for you to grow without competition, and you should not despise humble beginnings. You should use this time to master them, to really grow your craft or grow your hobby, whatever it is, to where you can really lock it down. And for me, even just using our church as an example, for years and years, it was just a small little church where sometimes there's less than 10 people showing up. hours of preparation for the sermon, hours of preparing for the week, just to have a couple people show up. And it's even now, there's people that would still classify it as a small church. But for me, it's like something so fulfilling. I love what we do. And it's taken years, but now it's growing to this place of sustainability to where it was so niche. It's such a niche type of audience that we're reaching when it comes to our culture and our church. But it's actually something. It's an audience that I enjoy being around. It's a culture that I love. And there's so many times where when it was smaller. And when there's barely people showing up, I would have people tell me like, you need to quit. It didn't work out. You failed. No one is going to go to this church. Specifically, people would say it still rings in my head sometimes. People saying no one is going to go to Graveyard Church. And how would I say like, one, it's Grave Top Church. But it's this idea that there's so many voices that would heap on this idea that you should feel embarrassed by the small beginning, that you should feel the sense of shame, and even these voices inside myself. But really holding down this idea to not despise those small moments, but embrace them. And I took those opportunities to grow myself, to grow, to really fine tune what I was building. And it's so much easier to establish your foundation and your structure early when it's small compared to later and there's a lot of weight standing on it. Now, all that to say, part 6 is the confidence component. I think that sometimes the hardest part about being authentic is believing it is enough. And you'll see people who are loud, flashy, or seem more successful, especially, with social media. It's easy to look and compare ourselves to others to where it makes you doubt yourself because of other people's success. But if you abandon your authenticity for attention, you'll lose both. It's not flattering. It's not cool. Confidence doesn't come from trying to prove yourself. It comes from knowing yourself. And the more that you understand what drives you, the less that you'll crave a validation for it. And that's where that peace comes in. When you're doing what you love, doing it well, and trusting that the right audience will find it. And it is a beautiful, beautiful feeling when you're able to establish that confidence along with what you do. So some closing thoughts. Let's end with a challenge this week. Stop chasing someone else's blueprints and start building your own. Ask yourself, what comes naturally to me? What do I genuinely enjoy? How could I serve people with this? And those are 3 questions that help guide you on how to get started. And that's where the real hustle begins. The world doesn't need another copy. It needs you. It needs a sincere version of you. And the moment that you lean into what's authentic, you'll find that this grind starts to feel like grace again. So with all that being said, thank you for listening to the Heart and Hustle podcast. If this spoke to you, share it with someone who's been trying to figure out their own lane. And remember that the best kind of hustle is the one that feels like home to you. And until next time, have a great life.
Then tell me why you still watch every move I take. You call me phony, nah, I'm just free. And if you still doubt me, go by my book.